Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Hi, I'm DKWILL. This is DKWILL. Talk about it. Let's talk about the ETF situation again. I know we've just come off that bloodbath in the financial markets. You can't really just say the crypto markets and the financial markets. But as expected, it was just another manipulation of prices, a fake out, whatever you want to call it, a shake out, whatever you want to call it, a take out, because it did that too. But nonetheless, if you're still here, more power to you. We're going to cover a little bit about these ETFs because I want to cover a few things that make sense that I think I want to make sense to you. And it says here that an expert says the XRP ETF approval is getting close as issuers file amendments. And on one of my previous videos, I covered some of that process of filing, how the SEC had asked many of the players to withdraw their 19B4 applications, to remove those because they were going to go with the generic listing standards. And that left pretty much only the S1s, which require SEC approval. But we also looked at the dates of when they first initiated those applications, and they went back as far as a year ago, as far as October 8th of 2024. And so now as we proceed forward with all the amendments necessary on the S1s for them to finally get SEC approval, keeping in mind the generic listing standards and how I brought out in that video that they could very well just give them a little dots to I's and T's to cross to make sure it happens. And one of those is kind of revealed in this article here. So let's take a look at this article by, let me try this one. Boluwatife Adeyemi. Boluwatife Adeyemi. Hi, Mr. Adeyemi. I hope I did your name some justice. But nonetheless, it says here, these are the highlights. Some of these XRP ETF issuers included tickers for their funds in the amended S1s. Trading fees wasn't included in the amendments. Now, what does that tell me? If the trading fees weren't included in the amendment, they were a necessary part of the application, which I showed you in my prior video. I'll put the card up there, look for it. So that means the trading fees were probably already taken care of, and so these amendments did not require necessarily resubmitting the trading fees. And then the U.S. government shutdown has put the potential approval of these funds on hold. Note the word potential. In previous videos, it was likely. So we can't etch it in stone, so to speak. And that's the point I'm trying to make on these ETFs. So let's go a little bit further. It says that the XRP ETF issuers have filed amendments for their respective registration statements, providing optimism even as the government shutdown delays a potential SEC approval.
And if you like the content I'm providing, please make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications, and then come back for more DK Will Talk About It.
Market expert Nate Garachi, however, highlighted how this move indicates that a launch is getting close. Of course, the launch is getting close. Like I said, they front ran it all with the generic listing standards. And we did look at that as well, and we saw that it actually does apply to spot ETFs. Under the subheading, XRP ETF issuers file amended S1s for their funds. It says the US SEC data shows that asset managers, the biggest guy, Grayscale, Bitwise, Canary, Franklin, Templeton, 21 Shares, and Wisdom Tree have all filed amended S1s for their XRP funds. They've all filed them as we go into next week when they start actually coming on board. I'll see if I can pull that schedule up again. This comes despite a delay in the potential SEC approval. Potential whatever. As CoinGate reported, the commission had put on hold the review and acceleration of the effectiveness of registration statements due to limited resources during the ongoing shutdown. However, crypto ETF issuers, including the XRP ETF issuers, have used this period to amend their registration statements, likely to ensure that they get approval once the commission resumes fully. Notably, some of the amended XRP funds include tickers, although trading fees are still missing. It sounds like a head fake to me, people. Trading fees are a part of the application from the get-go. And we looked at the get-go in the prior video. Go look at it. Instead of me bringing it into this video, I want to encourage more looking at my videos. I hope you like, and I hope you subscribe. And then it says what the trading ticker symbols will be. We really don't care about that until they come out, right? So we don't need to cover that. But Nate Garachi, he's a wealth management president, remarked that the XRP ETF's launch is getting close following the filing of the amendments for these funds. Now, I made it a point to say in the prior video that it was probably something simple that they were stalling out so they can do everything they've been doing up to this point. This big shakeout that they did, this big liquidation that they did, this big stall that they did, this big drop in price so they can get their coffers full cheaply. It says, notably, the final deadline for these XRP funds was next week under the 19B framework. Well, the SEC asked them to withdraw the 19B framework, and here it says it right here. And it plans to approve these funds under the generic listing standards. You got to read between the lines, folks, in the lizard talk. I don't see it being held up. Could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. But do I think I'm wrong? I wouldn't be doing the video if I thought I was wrong. No, would I? I wouldn't even be doing the video. Then it gives you more discouraging news. No end in sight for the U.S. government shutdown. There is no end in sight to the ongoing U.S. government shutdown, which could further delay the approval of these XRP ETFs. Funding bills that have reached the Senate floor have so far failed to secure the necessary votes for passage. That's a red herring. So what? What we care is whether or not it's going to affect the SEC, not whether or not they get it going. But if the only thing they have to approve is, okay, that's fine, you're going to use that ticker symbol, you're free, you've met all the other requirements of the generic listing standards, carry on. Polymarket data shows that there's currently a 37% chance this shutdown will be the longest in history, surpassing the last shutdown. Can you give any more doom and gloom? Can you? And then Bloomberg analysts, I'm glad they called him an analyst instead of an expert, because being a reporter doesn't make you an expert in finance. But Bloomberg analyst Eric Balchunas, because I noted him in a prior video, here's why I said that. He noted that the shutdown has frozen everything when asked whether an approval could happen this October. He's not held to that. He's not held to saying that. Guess who's held to making sure they get accurate information? Financial advisors. That's who. And by the way, I'm not a financial advisor. So here's how simple it is to get past this and to take advantage of those generic listing standards that we talked about right there. They already filed. The schedule's in the video, and I'm sure it's passed by now, or if it didn't pass, it's here now, but I wouldn't wait this long to put the cards up for the video that addresses that schedule of when they're supposed to go on board starting on the 18th with Grayscale, the biggest guy going first. But if the only thing they need to do is go get yourself a ticker symbol, dot that I, cross that T, and then use the generic listing standards, because we put them ahead of this shutdown so that the Democrat side of the table or aisle or whatever you call it cannot shut down our efforts in becoming the financial behemoth the U.S. wants to be and the crypto president of the United States, right? I mean, think about it, people. So I want to use the symbol. Let's just go with, I want to use DKWL1. I want that to be my ticker symbol. Everything else is ready. They said, go pick your ticker symbol. I picked mine and I got an ETF ready to go. What do I got to do? There's a list of all ETF symbols. Let me go see if there's a DKW1, DKWL1. Let me go see. I got to get my generic listing standard taken care of. Oh, page 2. Next. Okay, here we go. Let's see. HIJK, DK up, DKNX, DKWL1 works. I don't know if I can put a 1 in there. DKWL. Here you go. Generic listing standards. I'm ready to rock and roll. And off we go. Guess what? The exchanges don't have to do it because they told the exchanges to pull the 19B4s, remember? So if the fund meets the generic listing standards and the exchange knows it listed the generic listing standards, which is a self-regulated organization, and everything is okay, they're going to file. They're going to play. They're going to send them babies off. Those ETFs are going to pop out, baby, despite this shutdown. Okay, if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm sorry at the end of it. But for now, I think I'm right. I'm also DK Will, and this is DK Will Talk About It. And I talked about it. Have a wonderful day.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.